in those 4 barrels,
Yeah.
£2 million worth of retail whiskey. Hello, I'm Hax. I'm a filmmaker and a storyteller. I love to travel, meet fascinating people, go to interesting places and discover amazing things. Join me as I search for the fascinating, the interesting and the amazing. I'm in Tobermory on the Island of Mull and I'm visiting the 7th oldest distillery in Scotland. This is Richard and he's my guide to tasting some of their whiskies.
Small distillery, we only produce about just below 1 million litres of whiskey every year. Our market is not supermarket shelves like Diageo or anything like that. It's specialist whiskey shops and specialist outlets. So we're not. We're proud of our traditional methods. Would you like to come in? I'm just going to take my mask off because you have to taste. You can take yours off.
Oh, that's a relief.
I'm going to get to taste. This is the 4 whiskies, okay. But first of all, I want to explain that this is the spirit that we make in Tobermory Distillery, and it comes in 2 forms: peated and unpeated.
Okay.
So that's basically the base. That's our base whiskey before it gets matured, and we use a variety of. We use predominantly ex-bourbon casks to mature our whiskey. So, where would you like to start? Would you like to start with limited edition, or would you like to extract from the cask?
Let's go for an extraction.
Okay. There are 3 different size of barrel. These are the biggest barrels. They mature differently to barrels because it's smaller and more contact with the wood on these.
Okay.
So this is called a valinch, and this is the traditional method of extracting your whiskey from a barrel. It's got a little thing at the bottom which you basically put it down into the cask, and then you.
So what does shaking it do?
You're basically opening the valve and closing it, and it's being drawn up into the valinch.
That's nice, very smooth actually.
Very smooth, very rich, and it's like Christmas cake, sultana, dark.
Right.
By adding a few drops of water, it's actually breaking up the natural oils that are in the whiskey. And it's not diluting, it's enhancing the taste. So I would just say a couple of drops into it.
Okay.
Wow, you're great.
That's even more smooth.
Yeah. With some whiskies it doesn't work so well because they're not using natural water. They do things to the water, like filter it or put additives. Whereas us, it's as it falls out of the sky, so there are natural oils that come down into the whiskey, and you're breaking those oils up basically, and sort of releasing new flavours, dimensions to it.
Okay, all right.
Sticking with the Tobermory theme, on top of that, I'm going to ask you to drink the Pedro Jimenez finish to tell the difference between a single cask and a finish. So it's quite different actually. So this is basically, it's 12 years old, but it's been finished for the last 2 years in a Pedro Jimenez cask.
Okay.
So it's matured in bourbon for the first 10 years and then finished in a Pedro Jimenez cask.
Subtle change of difference.
Yeah. This one I think is 56.2%, whereas this one is actually stronger, believe it or not. It's 62.1%.
Wow.
So it's not often we do that, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. And that's basically our master blender taster's decision to allow the alcohol content to be higher or lower. This, which is our base spirit, it's our new make spirit, is well, it's 63.5% in this bottle, but it comes out of the distillery at about 70%. So you could not drink that. It's just too strong. It's like hand sanitizer.
Of course.
So you have to dilute it. All distilleries do you have to an acceptable alcohol level.
Sure. And it's just water that does that.
It's just water.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard about the Angel's Share.
Yes. I'll talk about the Angel's Share for you.
Okay.
So, any liquid will evaporate in higher temperatures. So you want to keep the level of the temperature down, so the angels don't drink too much. This is what we call the evaporation of whiskey, and also seepage of whiskey through the barrel. There will be a certain amount of seepage out of the barrel, but most of the loss will be from evaporation. This is a Tobermory, so unpeated whiskey. It's classed. It's been bottled at the moment as a 42-year-old, but the whiskey that's in this barrel will be released as a possibly a 50-year-old.
Okay.
But nobody's been into that cask apart from our master blender taster, just to test its progress over the years. But you can feel that. That's about all that is left in that cask after 42 years old. It's all gone, evaporated. And that's the Angels. It's what they call the Angel's Share.
So, in this particular case, since 1972, the Angels have been a bit greedy.
The Angels like their older whiskies. Yes. Yeah. We won't have such a big loss in newer ones. This is 2014, so that'll be still pretty full.
Of course.
They're about to release a 50th anniversary release, so this is getting on to be 50 years old now. It's in the barrel, so when they release that, it'll be 50 years old, and they say that the bottle price, same 7CL, will be about £18,000 a bottle.
What?
And it's also the way you store them. It's you have to move them about every now and again. Turn them, rotate them to get more out of the cask. But the cask condition, the cask condition, the cask condition is good when you first put the whiskey in, because that's the cooperage that we have. They will inspect the casks and get the casks ready, and then fill the casks.
Once this barrel's finished, emptied and gone, would you reuse this barrel?
We wouldn't use these barrels ever again. We do use things like these barrels several times, but that's been sitting too long. It's been taking too much out of the wood. I'm going to move on to leche now, so that's our peated whiskey, and we're going to do a sample of this one, which is a 2009 Oloroso.
If there's sediment in there, I find it's remarkable that when it actually comes out like this, it's so clear. Thank you.
That's exactly why we don't want to break down into the sediment, because otherwise it's nothing wrong with drinking sediment. In fact, the best whiskey comes from the very last, the bottom of the barrel, but it doesn't look so great because it's got little black bits floating around in the
Now that is remarkably different in taste, much as you say, more peaty.
Yeah, so that is it's a different whiskey altogether, because it's using the peated barley. The malting is peated. So it is a completely different whiskey from the Tobermory, which is unpeated.
When we hear the term peated, we think it's made with peated water from the bogs of Scotland.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually a process that the barley goes through?
Yes. So the three ingredients to making whiskey are water, barley and yeast. The barley is the difference. Now, we get our unpeated barley from the east coast of Scotland. We can't grow barley here, the soil's too thin. When they cut it, they lay it down on a warehouse floor, spray it with water to start the germination process. But that germination process has got to be stopped at a certain point to fool it in thinking it's ripe. And the way they do that is apply hot air to it. But in the peated whiskey, which comes to us from Port Ellen on Islay, it's done in kilns, where the same process, they dampen the barley to start the germination, but below it they're actually burning peat which is a decaying soil matter.
Yes.
Dried out, and it gives a beautiful smoky, that goes
and you can taste that in the flavour.
That is the only difference to both whiskies.
So it's a process for the barley, but it's using peat.
Yes.
And that creates the smoky taste.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
So
that's just
peat is
amazing.
a bit of a controversial issue because it's a big collector of CO2 on the planet. Peat is an amazing heat source because a very small amount,
of course,
will give a lot of heat and a lot of smoke, flavour. So we don't actually use that much. But in the old days, when the Outer Hebrides and Inner Hebrides used to burn peat to heat their homes, that's a bad thing for the environment.
Yes, it was.
But it was fun. You don't do that anymore.
No. Oh, that's fascinating. You've answered one of my questions about the peat expression. Mm-hmm. Definitely, thank you. And this benefits with a little bit of water as well?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So it's the same, because it's the same water. It's going. I think it's more. To me, it has a higher impact with the unpeated whiskey, but it does have And I'll leave the taste to you because everyone's got their own.
Of course.
In bars they have jugs like this, and you see people pouring water in. That just kills a lot of the taste. And the same with ice, by the way.
As a sideline, you thought I needed a bit of income.
Yeah.
What can I possibly do that I would enjoy? And that's a whiskey guide.
Yeah, basically, I've always loved whiskey, but I've always been fascinated by the distillation process and things like that, and how you get so many tastes.
So what would you say those barrels are worth?
There's £2 million worth of whiskey there.
So in those 4 barrels,
yeah,
£2 million worth of retail whiskey. 40 bottles of whiskey.
Amounted to £2 million.
That's incredible.
So this basically it's a ruby port finish. So it's 21 years old, but it's been in the last 29 months in a ruby port cask, and this is another experience. It's it's a Litchik, it's a peated whiskey, but it's another variation of what we do, but it's different taste altogether.
It already smells so different. I can taste the peaty, but it's a richer, rounded flavour.
Very full.
Yeah, full,
Yes.
Completely.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to have a little glass with me?
I'm not allowed, but I will.
Good. Don't fire him. I've actually pressured him to do it to close the video. But what do you like about whiskey?
Actually, I treat whiskey very differently to when I was young. I used to drink it to get drunk. Now I enjoy it because it is such a warming drink. It's just such a, and there's so many different roads you can go down with whiskey. It's in terms of taste and.
There we go. Respect.
Cheers.
I came away with 2 bottles. The first one is the Tobermory 12. It's a single malt, unpeated. It's a lighter whiskey, and it's more of a traditional taste. And I have to say, I actually quite like this. And it's just kind of like a normal single malt, but it does have a distinct taste, which I would imagine to be the Tobermory brewery taste. And I enjoyed that, so I'm looking forward to partaking in a few tipples of this as time goes on. The second bottle I bought was the Ledaig, and it's a single malt again, 10 years this time as opposed to the 12-year. But this time the final stages of actually maturity is being matured in Bordeaux red wine casks, and it gives a much more distinct flavour, and I enjoyed that. I've got to be careful I don't drop the bottles, but again a distinct flavour, definitely. Now the barley's been peated on this, and to just go over the peating process, it's where they mildly roast the barley, but it's more of a smoked process using peat, hence the expression peated. But it's the smoking aspect of the barley that gives it the flavour. So it's, I think it's an acquired taste, but I like it. And again, I'm looking forward to a few more tipples as time goes on. And what a place to finish this vlog on the loch in Scotland. I'm Hax. I hope you enjoyed this film. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Hey, this is a new vlog for me, so if you've enjoyed this episode, give it a like, comment, share it, and if you'd like to see more, give us a follow too. I'm Hax. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.